Excellent.
Okay, it's recording. We're able to.
All right. So, let me give you guys a cookie.
I got a cookie.
Nice.
There you
Thank
go.
sir.
Cool.
Oh, man, this is going to be intense.
All right, you guys good to
Yeah.
go?
Oh,
Yeah,
we're
man.
fucking ready, man.
All right.
Let's do this. Yeah, right. I know.
Boom,
I know.
we're
Yeah,
in.
Boom.
We're in. It's
like
live,
first,
baby.
First injury, right?
Oh man.
Yeah, first
Okay.
injury of the day,
I can't put my headphones on with this cookie in my hand.
Just figure it out, bro.
Yeah,
We are already
right.
online.
Dude, put that cookie in your mouth, man. That's
Yeah,
where it
put
goes.
it down, put your headphones on, get situated.
I'm good.
Check it. We're going right now. What's up, everyone?
What's
This is
up?
Rob from dubc.com. I'm here with Samir and Brian
Yo.
from Pax Humana.
Yo.
This is episode 2 of Beetroots. It's a series where producers dig into one of their tracks, take apart all the pieces, and really dig into the core of their track and talk about their creative and technical inspiration. Boys, tell us about the track and give us a little intro right now.
So basically, this track was there was this rapper who wanted this track written, and it was supposed to like kind of evoke the story of this serial killer. And so yeah, Samir and I decided to like tap into our like I don't know serial killer side, and like we watched a bunch of YouTube videos about like you know like American Psycho and like that
Scary
kind of stuff.
movies, that
Scary
kind of thing.
movies, and
Yeah.
yeah, just like you know, really to kind of like capture that sort of vibe, which was kind of interesting because you know those, you know, it wasn't as kind of black and white as we thought it would be initially.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we basically just like you know dove in.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, you know, like we don't normally. I mean, at least for myself, I don't normally like watch horror films or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it was funny because like you know we looked at a bunch of different like clips of horror films like Dexter, which is like kind of like this TV show,
Right,
and
right.
you know I can't remember if we watched like Jason or like you know like
Maybe, yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street, you know.
Yeah.
Every composer like kind of goes like different angles, and but I think from the perspective of like a kind of commonality, like there's a kind of a specific sound, so we kind of like were able to like kind of take some of those elements and then see what we could do to kind of like you know make it our own, you know, kind of give it like that Pax Humana twist, you know? Yeah.
So the track is inspired by a few different horror films.
Basically,
What's
Yeah.
the track called?
called-
Escape.
Escape.
Escape. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a listen.
Yeah.
Boys, cheers.
all right, let's do it, guys.
Let's
Vincent
play.
Hurst cookies
Here we
right
go.
here.
Yeah.
yours, homie.
Excellent, excellent. I
What do you
really
think,
dig
man?
it.
Yeah.
The track was cool. The cookies were delicious.
Oh man, let's get me started.
That's what's up.
So tell me about that process from taking something visual and more of like a feeling of watching horror films and murder films and translating that into something that's a song, more like
Yeah.
auditory. Tell us about that process.
Well, it's kind of cool because actually one of the things that we didn't mention was we kind of had a conversation about that movie Hannibal.
Okay.
You know, and that's kind of where we decided, because a lot of our tracks we use a lot of piano and like those kind of instruments. So like when Brian like mentioned Hannibal, I was like, oh yeah, and then you know like Brian has a like extensive like classical background, and
Right.
you know I do as well. So you know we just kind of like came up with some motifs that kind of you know Hannibal is like kind of like this like prestigious like you know like scholar kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's how we came up with like that like piano line with like
Yeah,
the
let's
little.
listen to that. So like
Yeah.
this is a Hannibal inspired riff, and you're saying this like kind of his persona of being like this prestigious
Yeah.
fucking psycho.
Yeah.
Prestigious psycho. There you go, man.
let's
Maybe that should be
listen.
the new name right there.
So this is the first piano riff that comes in.
Okay. Okay.
There's that right there. Actually, this guy comes in earlier. That's right. This is kind of like the main motif of the song, basically.
Yeah.
And was this the starting point, or do you remember kind of what the original sound was that you built the song off of?
Man, I don't remember. I think the first thing we played was kind of like, because that kind of helped to create the chordal structure.
Yeah.
You know, that created like the atmosphere of the song, and I think we kind of worked backwards from that. Is that right?
I think actually it was the opposite.
Oh, really?
Sorry.
Dead
think-
wrong. So
I'm so dead wrong.
I don't think that was it, actually. Yeah.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Brian,
So
what's
anyway,
up?
now we can set the record straight here.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I think honestly we started with the intro, which I think a lot of the songs we do, we kind of like just come up with some sort of riff,
Yeah.
which ends up being the beginning of the song. I think it was this guy right here, actually.
Yeah, but that was a piano thing first.
Well,
That was a
anyway,
piano thing first.
I don't know. I guess yeah. Maybe you're right, man. Shoot, now I'm shut down.
So let's actually start off with this intro, because one of the things that's catching my ear right off the bat. First of all, there's that, and it sounds like this really naturally distorted something.
Yeah, totally.
It sounds like if a guitar was just getting a lot of feedback, but is that something you created internally within Ableton?
Yeah, that's basically it's actually all this one instrument right here,
Okay.
which is it's a massive bass that we created, and we used this root chain to create two different chains. One is just a dry chain here.
Uh-huh.
The other one has a driver in it, which is this Native Instruments.
Yeah, what is
and,
a driver?
Honestly, I can't tell you exactly what it does, but it definitely just screws up the sound a whole bunch.
Cool.
It's kind of like some sort of distortion, saturation plugin. But basically, it sounds like by itself this. And then, so this is the dry signal. Just this. And then this is with the driver. And then this is just the driver. So this is what the driver is doing with a little bit of chorus to kind of like give it some space in the mix.
Interesting.
Basically, yeah.
And so what? It sounds like it has some sort of gate or some sort of trigger that's letting in certain notes. It's got that kind of like stuttery sound to it.
Yeah, honestly, the driver is such a wacky plugin. It does all this crazy stuff. And I
Yeah,
don't
you
know,
just
like
messed with it.
yeah, and it's kind of like it's got a little like I think there's a little man inside of it.
Yeah.
And he's like completely like deranged,
He's
and he
the
just
driver.
does. He's the driver. Yeah, he's just
Word.
like this crazy like cab driver, and like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel
I
that.
think that's how it happens.
And so, what advice do you guys have to give to people watching about like experimenting with new tools or new plugins or anything like that?
I mean, personally, like I think it's super inspiring just to like I don't know. take a new plugin and just like turn a bunch of knobs that you might not know what they do,
Definitely.
and then just like see what happens. Down the road, usually there's a certain point where you have to figure out what the knobs do.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But I think it's just all about inspiration and like really like what just hits home basically when you're doing it. So
Cool.
yeah.
So we got the that crazy driver inspired sound,
Mhm.
and then it might be in this sound as well, but it also sounds like there's this really bit crush sound that kind of comes in from time to time, and then especially comes in right before the main riff kicks in. So maybe
That's the release of. So the driver, the way it works is it distorts the sound that comes in,
Okay.
and then there's this crazy release that it does as well.
Oh, interesting.
So the release is creating another sound on top of that.
Wow.
So it's like it's a really fun tool. I mean, there's a ton of different presets in the driver, but like for the most part, like the one that we decided to use, like, is this one that kind of creates like this distortion at the beginning and then this release where like it's a little bit more like 3-dimensional in a way.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like being affected by the sound that's coming in, it's also
Right.
being affected by the release of the sound too.
Cool.
And so that's why there's this like long tail at the end of that phrase
Yeah.
where you hear like that whoop, like kind of at
that's
the end.
definitely what I was noticing. So, one of my favorite parts of this track is that kind of arpeggiated sound bass riff.
Yeah.
And does that, I don't know if it kicks in right from the start, or maybe it's like right as the
Let's
main
see.
riff kicks in. Yeah, so I think it's Why don't we solo that out?
Yeah. Let's see. We'll wait for the driver to. There we go.
That's the release right there.
Tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's it. For sure. So that is funky. Yeah, one of the cool things that I really like about that is, I know, do you guys both have kind of a jazz background, or I know you do a bit.
I
so
do,
Mary
yeah,
does.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, talking about like the notes in between the notes, I feel like that riff has some notes missing that you fill in for yourself, just through your
Yeah, most
imagination or like what you want to hear. So
Mhm.
tell us about how you guys came up with that riff, and then how you refined it, or how you maybe like took things out of it.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a process, I guess, like, but at the same time, the first initial part of that process is really improvisation,
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, like, we'll spend time like coming up with a sound first,
Right.
and then from that sound, just like as we were talking before, there's like that inspiration. So like,
Right.
in other words, like, it's really like we kind of let the music like drive itself in a way.
Definitely.
And so like, just having like a background in music kind of allows you to kind of pull, different like kind of inspirations from like either stuff that you've done in the past, or like, also like just like, sometimes, we just come up with stuff like on the fly, and
Yeah.
just kind of letting it flow is so important. You can't, you don't want to necessarily pigeonhole yourself or like feel like, it's got to be one way. So
Definitely.
a lot of times, we'll spend a lot of time creating a sound, but then when it comes to actually like the melodic material, it's like really like a lot of improvisation,
Yeah. Let's listen to that riff one more time.
Totally.
Yeah, it's funky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
so-
that's coupled with like 3 other kind of melodic bass lines, or 2 other melodic bass lines that are happening.
Okay, let's
So
do
we have
it.
like this sub happening, and then we have like this upper kind of bass line that happens like in the in the space.
Yeah.
Basically. We'll play all 3.
Whoa.
Yep. So yeah, and then from there it's like then you create like what dances around that. So
Yeah.
that's like the melodic material and some of the synths and the instruments, and then the drums, you know, the hi-hats, you know, that's kind of dancing around all of that stuff.
Let's take a listen to verse 2 and just see, or verse 1 over there.
Verse one, yeah.
Mm.
Cool.
Got that Hannibal piano in there.
That's it.
And then also dig that kind of riffing piano.
Yeah.
Alright, Ryan.
Yes.
Arpeggiator. There's some things being arpeggiated. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is
Yeah. What are we listening
this
to?
guy right here.
Okay.
And this is kind of based on that. It's kind of like based on the main riff, right, Samir?
Yeah, it's the same riff, but then we added a arpeggiator on that.
Okay.
Is that right?
I don't know actually. Well, actually, there's two things playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one has the arpeggiator on it.
Right.
Yeah. And it looks like there's this is controlling note length, and this is controlling note length plus arpeggiation going through this massive instrument.
Yeah. So you have like that main melody, so that ba-ba-da, 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 da-da, ba-ba-da, and then on top of that you have like the arpeggiated thing happening simultaneous, so it creates like this almost like kind of spacey, like Space Odyssey kind of thing going down.
These are the two of them together. So it's like an absent instrument.
And can you guys recall how those pieces came together, or how you decided to build that?
It's actually kind of funny because most of the time, like, when we're coming up with stuff, like, I'll be like kind of like getting all like dorked out on like plugins and like synthesizer settings, and Samir's got it's kind of hard to see in the video, but we've got this like 88 key digital piano over here.
Okay.
Samir's just like rocking out, like coming up with like riffs and just like
Cool.
Yeah,
and then there's like certain like moments where like the stars align.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's how this stuff happens.
Yeah, a lot of it, because I mean, I guess because we went to school for music, so
Yeah.
I guess in a way, like some of it's coming from like the kind of things that we learn as far as like composition and things like that, and one of the things that when we were putting like these kind of songs together, we always try to pay homage to is this idea that you don't have to have like 1,000 ideas put into one song. You can really like take one idea and then like let's like really work that idea and see how we can stretch it out. So for instance, like coming up with that line, that ba 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 da ba ba da ba ba da da, that's like a line that you hear like in different instruments, like here and there, but then we use them in different ways, like for instance like there where we have the arpeggiator like kind of creating a new melody, but it's with the same like material. So it's like really like I mean, if there's any like kind of advice we could give, it's like not to be so like like feeling like you have to put like all these ideas and like into like one song, but like really like being able to stretch like one idea so that at the end of the day you have like 10 songs versus like putting like 10 ideas into one song. Like you have a lot more material to like actually work with. So
that's really awesome advice, and I'm sure especially like the youngin' producers that are coming in and all excited about having these different instruments and sounds. I know for me at least, I was just like, okay, 10 different snare drums, 10 kick drums, and then like 50 synthesizers, and like each one's doing some crazy riff. But really, this is like a very full sounding song. But everything has a space,
Yeah, of course, And the whole idea is that also it just as a producer, like thinking, well, there's so much space that the artist is gonna fill in as well, so you don't want to take take that away from the artist too.
Yeah.
And you know, ironically enough, like we did this track for this rapper, but he ended up wanting to just like produce his own.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
is this not? Are you done with the track? Or are you gonna have some vocalists over?
We got to find somebody. You know, we're kind of in a position right now where, you know, we can go so many different ways. You know,
Yeah.
one way that we've been like really kind of focused on is like just like, you know, getting our name out there, you know, and like being
Definitely.
able to like meet and like collaborate with new artists, people that are really doing some exciting and beautiful things. So
Yeah.
you know, like we got a whole bang like a whole like list of tracks that we're like, we got to get this in the hands of some people. This is
Yeah.
kind of one of them, you know. 'Cause
Well, you heard it.
you heard it.
Pax Humana is hiring. Looking for vocalists, rappers, whatever, collaborators
man.
in New York and outside.
Come through, Bed-Stuy, represent. That's what's up.
So check it out. We just got done listening to verse 1. Let's move on to verse 2.
Let's do
Keep
it.
it going.
Let's
I
do
want to
it.
get to the
First two,
to the
part
drums
two,
at
or
some
what are
point,
you thinking?
especially the hats.
Oh,
Yeah, sure.
But like, let's just listen and see if that comes in naturally over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? Like,
Maybe
Where we
from like
left
hook
off.
2 into verse 2, right?
Yeah, let's try that.
let's do it.
Yeah. Another thing I really dig is that like kind of buzzing, almost bass line that comes in on top.
Yeah.
That pulsing thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's the beat.
Yeah.
Oh, the snare. Yeah. That.
There's a lot of interesting things going on. You guys take it away. Like, there's a lot to talk about in this section.
Yeah.
Brian, maybe you want to explain something that you enjoyed about that part.
Well, I guess at one point we had this idea it would be awesome to get some guitar sounds in here.
Yeah.
Mm.
I guess the problem is that we wanted to do like a chord sound, but the guitar doesn't really do chord sounds that well. It's really best for just kind of like melodic stuff, which we used it for.
Yeah.
But so I don't have a guitar,
What's
but
that?
I have
What's
a
this?
I have a ukulele.
Yeah,
Bust
man.
the uke out.
We
Yeah,
busted
yeah,
the
yeah.
uke out.
Uke here.
We got the
There's-
ukulele in
Yeah,
there.
There's a ukulele in here. So
You.
honestly, like I'm the most. I can't even play the ukulele, but we
Yeah.
figured out like the
The
tab
chord,
for
yeah.
the chord. So
Yeah, I'm excited
this
to hear
is
that.
the ukulele.
So I'm fucking shredding you.
That's a
Man.
shredding uke, yeah.
So
Damn.
pretty serious. So let's see what happens if we turn this guy off. Guitar rig, if it'll be audible.
I'm just imagining some like metal band with a uke player that just is like
Yeah, right.
oversaturated with effects.
Absolutely, man.
it.
That's the ukulele
That's the
sound.
uke right there.
There it is.
Just a
man.
one note power stroke.
Yeah, man, there it is. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, I mean, there's so many cool. Honestly, like this was a really fun track to work on. It was like one of the kind of quicker tracks that we put together. A lot of stuff just kind of like naturally unfolded.
Yeah.
Some of those beeps that you were talking about, Robert, is this track right here called Beep,
Okay.
which is really imaginatively named.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And basically, what it is it takes the
It's an empty track.
right, yeah, it is, yeah. This is the power of imagination right here, guys. So there's a utility on here with it's muted most of the time except for here, and it basically takes input from the snare drum. So when it unmutes itself, it basically takes this snare hit, which happens right there, and it puts it through a driver patch, and also it's like a delay.
That is a fancy looking delay.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
it's Fab Filter,
Fab
man.
Filter Timeless,
Whoa.
which is pretty awesome. I can't pretend to have figured out everything on it. I'm still kind of confused, but as
Yeah.
long as it kind of works out in the end, I'm
Yeah.
happy.
No, it looks cool for sure.
Yeah, I love the Fab Filter stuff. Yeah, it's cool. Let's see if this actually. I need to solo the snare too. Let's see what solo the snare also. So that's
Crazy.
that guy. And
Yeah, I love those tricks that you don't know are two things that are linked together that like somehow produce another sound. You know, who would have thought that the snare was like making that extra delay sound? But that's a really awesome thing.
Absolutely. And I think it's actually.
And that's the offbeat one, right?
Yeah, this guy. There's a different snare, kind of like a silent. Actually, it's a silent snare that sometimes triggers this. Let's see.
That's what I'm listening for.
Yeah.
That's such an awesome sound. So that's not an instrument. That's just the result of an effect. Or tell us about that sound. I want to have that sound.
Totally. So we basically took this snare sound, which is basically taken from the snare, and it's side chained to this other kind of snare sound, and with side chain gate, put it through driver.
Good old driver.
Yep, love that thing. And basically it's frequency shifter, which I don't think we're using LFO on here. Frequency shifter. This is a Sound Toys. I think it's called a Devlock. It's kind of like a bit crusher sort of thing. Another Sound Toys thing, microshift, which is kind of awesome. A gate to kind of cut out all this noise that you see down here.
Sure.
That's it, basically.
That's it.
Yep.
It's just the craziest
That's
amount of effects to plug
It's
in
a
that you
lot
get
of
that
shit.
awesome sound.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
Right on.
Yeah, right?
That's funny.
Cool. And in terms of your drums,
Sure.
are you guys particular about like finding the right pieces, or why don't you give some advice about how you guys approach assembling the right kick, the right snare, hats, and everything like that?
Yeah. Just listening. You know,
Listening.
it's all about like, I mean, because depending on the track and like what's going on around it, you're gonna want a different kick sound. You're gonna want a different snare. So I think from the perspective of, you know, maybe what we did for this track, I don't remember Brian correctly, but like I think we went through a ton of kicks before we found the right one, which is normally the case.
Right.
Right. You know, and sometimes we'll sit on a kick sound or a snare sound for a bit, and then it'll be like when we actually get to like the mixing process where we find out like that the kick sound is not working because it's like there's not enough high end in the sample, and a lot of I don't know, I guess like from that perspective I think, you know, having the right fundamentals in the sound are more important than trying to like, I guess, superimpose them with like, you know, trying to EQ it correctly or this kind of thing.
So do you guys not take the time beforehand to put the right kick and snare and all those instruments together? You more so just throw something in there, get all the ideas out, and then kind of later on you go back and you know, really refine those things?
That's a good question. I think we do our best to find the right sample, but sometimes the track kind of evolves in a different direction. Maybe like the bass sound will kind of like morph to the point where it's like, hey, we need a different kick to really support this bass sound. But I think most of the time that we try and get like the best sample to begin with. You know, that just kind of like has the right like kind of vibe and feel.
Definitely.
So sometimes we'll probably like listen to like 100 kick samples before we like, you know, find the right one.
Sure.
That's the process where I'm about to like blow my brains out.
Yeah, just like down arrow, hear that sound over and over. I mean, we all know how it is.
But
like, every producer sits there just like going through hundreds of snares and kicks, and then like something clicks about one of them.
Right.
I think that's like something we can all relate to.
Yeah,
totally.
most def.
Totally.
But
let's move forward.
Let's do it.
What are we at here?
Like maybe hook 2, verse 2.
Okay.
Maybe start at verse 2.
Sure.
Okay, great.
bloops and beeps, like
Yeah.
the things that you hear in the background that, after listening to the track again, kind of stand out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sure.
One of them, and I feel like I've heard it before, is that low-pitched vocal sound, just the yeah.
Oh, the
whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Whoa.
You want to talk about the whoa, Samir?
Well, that was you, right?
I think that was a sample. Oh.
No, man.
Did
We recorded that.
Oh yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
it's got that.
Yeah.
file name.
So you guys recorded that on just a regular microphone, or this is one of you two?
Yeah, I think we started with me, but then Brian ended up doing it better. Like, it ended up working out better than right
Yeah.
then.
Voice.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think I was just in the mood to give a good whoa.
Yeah, he gave.
Whoa.
So sometimes you just gotta let out a good whoa.
Yeah, he
Um,
put his all into that whoa.
Why don't you guys give the viewers some advice? Because I know a lot of people are really picky about having like the perfect microphone, recording like a perfectly soundproof booth.
Mm.
But I take it this was just kind of like a go for it and just add some effects to it.
Probably. I mean, I think the reality is like here, there's a lot of ambient noise. Just like I live on the street. There's like 2 bus routes.
You live on the street.
Sorry. That sounded really
That's the
bad.
kicker, guys. This is not Brian's house, and we are renting this space right now.
This might look like my apartment, but the sidewalk's right behind the camera.
This is just well done.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like, hey, Mr. Parsons. Yeah, right.
Making beats.
Yeah, right. So, but basically, like, you know, my roommates. Yeah,
Busy street.
I live off a busy street. I guess what I meant to say is my roommate's room is like, you know, it's on the back. It's near the backyard. It's like quiet, but you know, there's like bus routes. Like, you know, there's just garbage trucks.
Yeah, it's all like
crazy
very
stuff.
natural. You can't really escape the sound type of thing.
You can't escape it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, like, if we have to record, like, you know, vocalists, like, really, you know, clean sound versus just, like, one sample, then we'll record at Samir's place, because he lives, like, you know,
I live in
quieter.
Bush. I was gonna say Bush.
Where do you live on the street?
I live on the street too.
Brian's neighbor.
Yeah, he lives on the street, a quieter street.
I live in Bensonhurst. You
He
know,
lives on a
so
quieter
it's
street.
It's a lot quiet. It's a lot more quiet down there.
Cool.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's take a listen to that last section here, and then I got one more question for you guys, and we'll wrap it up.
Totally.
Cool.
Let's do this. Okay, so this is like second half hook 3/outro.
Dope.
Cool beans.
Tell us a bit about your guys' collaborative process. I know you talked a bit about how you're very much on the technical side, get it all put together really well. Samir's jamming out, kind of doing his own thing. You guys come together, but what's that point like where you come together, or just tell us about how you guys work together?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a free-for-all. I think we just kind of like, you know, we like talk about the concept that, you know, for the song, and we did a bit of like kind of, as we were talking about before, like kind of background research into this, and I think we have a lot of different musical influences and backgrounds, like there's jazz background or a classical background.
Yeah.
And so we'll often like just kind of go off on a tangent too, sometimes a really long tangent, and talk about different like, you know, musical inspirations we would have for the track. Maybe we'll like pull up different songs, talk about different like artists, and I know that I think maybe for that piano riff at the end, I think we were talking about like this one Black Eyed Peas song that there's this like I forget which one it was from Elefunk. There's this kind of like sort of Latin jazz piano riff in it.
Oh, yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah,
but then
Wow.
I remember like kind of going, because we had like a bunch of different, like I tried a bunch of different things out, and you know, it kind of started from like this like kind of almost Latin type of thing.
Yeah.
But then we started talking about Hannibal, and then that's where it kind of turned into like more of a classical type of thing. And I was like kind of doing something like trying to like, you know, replicate some kind of like Rachmaninoff. If anybody knows who that is.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
obscure reference.
Yeah,
there.
you
We'll
know.
have to Google that. or
Yeah,
add it in the
Google
description.
Rachmaninoff, and it's not spelled R-O-C-K. R-A-C-H.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, so I mean, you know, it was a process, definitely, and
Yeah.
and I think as far as like just back to your question about like how we tend to work together, it's like really like, I mean, the great thing about, you know, working with, you know, someone who's like coming from the other end of the spectrum is that we come up with these ideas that we wouldn't normally come up with ourselves.
Right.
So it pushes the music in a direction where, like, you know, if I was doing music on my own or if Brian was doing music on his own, it's just totally different, you know.
Mhm.
But when we come together, you know, our influences are like intermingled, and like our backgrounds, you know, we spent like the last time we got together, we spent probably a good like 3 or 4 hours just talking about NWA and like,
Yeah.
you know, the streets and like, you know, the whole hip hop culture, and it was like
Definitely.
it was an enlightening thing, you know, like an enlightening kind of conversation where we could, you know, like be able to like kind of see our different viewpoints from like that era, and like, you know, when Brian grew up listening to the Beatles, I grew up listening to like the Isley Brothers, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
so it's kind of cool to be able to work with somebody where like, you know, we're looking at things, you know, musical ideas, you know, perspectives from like these two different angles, but
Sure.
then like, you know, like naturally, like when those things come together, you end up with something way beyond what you could do yourself. You know?
Right on.
Yeah, it's kind
So
of.
collaboration is key. You guys
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
encourage people
Yeah.
to get in the studio with your
Yeah.
homies. Just
Yeah.
find people, music producers club, all of that stuff.
Yeah, no stuff.
absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
super important.
Cool.
Mm.
Especially if there's cookies.
Yeah, we got extra cookies here.
That's right,
yeah.
We should probably sign off and eat the rest
Oh
of
man, dude.
them. Thanks for watching, guys. My
Yeah.
name is Rob from dubseed.com. We're a marketplace for stems, samples, and acapellas. I'm here with my boys, Pax Humana, Brian, and Samir.
What's up?
Thanks a bunch for joining us, guys. Let's go ahead and shout out.
Oh
Yeah,
man, put it
man.
here, dude.
I'll take one
Thank
of those.
you.
Nice.
Wow.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.